Okay, good morning everyone, take two. I started the video a few minutes ago. I was using the Wi-Fi and the Wi-Fi crashed. The joys of live television, folks. So I'll be repeating myself a little bit for the first few minutes. So first of all, hello everyone. Welcome to my weekly fireside chat, which only occurs when the weather is beautiful and gorgeous, like it is, as you can see, and I barbecue. Although, given that we're in the middle of winter right now, I'll have to find a way to maybe do these even when I'm indoors and not barbecuing. But I'm usually inspired when I barbecue, hence why I tend to do these things on amazing days like today. Happy Hanukkah to all of you who celebrate. Not sure how you spell that word. That word has more spellings than Gaddafi, which is saying a lot. But anyway, happy Hanukkah to all of you. I'm going to be enjoying this day and the next few days. I love Hanukkah, first of all, eating lots of oily foods and donuts and the like. But in addition, we're going to see people like Ilan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Linda Sarsour, anti-Israel / anti-Semitic people wishing the Jewish community a happy Hanukkah in an attempt to somehow ingratiate themselves with us. And they will only ingratiate themselves with the far left of the Jewish community who don't know any better. And it's hilarious to me because Hanukkah, out of all the Jewish festivals, is one which mostly celebrates Jewish sovereignty over the land, and it's the rededication of our holy temple in Jerusalem on the Temple Mount. So they really should think twice before wishing us a happy Hanukkah. You should be careful what you wish for. Anyway, I want to get right into things today. I want to speak about a guy called Angelo John Gage. He's a vile anti-Semite who I've mentioned here on a number of different occasions, including last week. I mentioned him last week in the context of appearing on a Press TV panel with Ariel Gold, the Jewish Ariel Gold, and not a panel rather, but an interview on Press TV, Iranian state-controlled Press TV, and he's a vile white nationalist anti-Semite. There's no question about it. He has called for a violent revolution, or a revolution, but then he said he's willing to die for the cause. And there's no doubting that he's a vile anti-Semite. Although he will deny it, and I'll get into that in a minute. Anyway, why am I mentioning him? Because since I spoke last week and mentioned him, he came out with a tweet. I'm going to be paraphrasing the tweet. I don't have it in front of me right now, but it goes something along these lines. You know that small parasite class who are behind the world's wars and conflicts, usurping the world's resources, scamming the financial systems, etc., etc.? They need to die. And there's no other way to say it, and you know it. Okay, I'm paraphrasing it. I'll leave a link to a post showing that tweet after this show. If you hear that, what do you think? I mean, also given the fact that this is the same guy that has said or claimed that the fabricated protocols of the elders design, which basically say everything that he said in that tweet, is real. So when he talks about the parasite class, we know who he's talking about. He's talking about the Jews. They need to die. What does that mean? This is, again, a guy that said he's willing to die for the cause. He's an ex-military guy. It's not beyond the realm of reasonable doubt to think that what he means here is he's going to do something really stupid and violent. And if not him, then at least he's encouraging his army of meatheads. And believe me, they're anti-Semitic meatheads that follow this guy. They're not exactly the most intelligent people, but they do hate Jews. That's what unifies them. So I took this tweet as very threatening and bone-chilling. And I contacted the police in the New Jersey town where he lives, and also I encouraged you to do the same, especially those of you in the States that actually call up at a reasonable time and do so. And many of you did, so thank you for that. And he's just come out with a video in which he bemoans the fact that the police visited his house. I'll also leave a link to the post in which I deal with that. And in that video, he says how the police understood him. So it didn't sound like the police did much, except they came to his house and said, look, we got reports that you tweeted something, you better be careful what you tweet. But they couldn't do anything beyond that. and I'm okay with that, and I'll get into that in a few minutes as well. But in this video, there were many things that struck me. One, he showed no remorse whatsoever. He did try to explain away things by saying, well, the parasite class, I didn't mean the Jews. Then he corrects himself and he says, not just the Jews. or not just Jewish people. In other words, this parasite class, who were the 1%, he admits many of them are Jews, but he's now claiming that, no, it didn't mean just the Jews. Because God forbid you might think I'm anti-Semitic, which he thinks is a tool that we paint people who are anti-Zionists. So that's the first point. No remorse. But beyond that, he didn't retract the fact that he said they should die. If you watch this 15-minute video, and I don't wish that upon my worst enemy, he doesn't express remorse for that sentiment. He does admit it was hyperbolic. He even at one point he says moronic, and then he kind of corrects himself, realizing he was being moronic for calling himself a moron, although that was the only true thing in that video, by the way. But he expresses no remorse. And by the way, he quotes a different tweet. So the tweet that I just described, he does talk about the parasite class, but he conflates it with another tweet, apparently, which got him reported, in which he talks about, he's talking about COVID and something about taking shots, and those behind it should be taking shots. It was a bit of a poetic play on words. We know what he meant by taking shots. He was referencing getting shot, and of course he blames Jews for COVID, or, the fake vaccination, whatever the conspiracy theory he's promulgating. But that wasn't even the tweet that I wanted people to report. So he's referenced a different tweet. In this whole video, he portrays himself as the victim. It's quite pathetic, actually, but what you would expect from a vehement anti-Semite. He's all bravado and tough guy, and this is a guy that tweets, pictures of himself working out and bragging about in the past how he bedded like thousands of women. I mean, this is a guy really who has a huge head, but also a huge head, if you know what I mean. He's really not down on himself, let's put it that way. But yet he's pathetically portraying himself as the victim, and he's saying how there are powerful Jewish organizations. This goes to show you the fact that the police came to my door, how powerful the Jewish organizations are. He doesn't, by the way, mention me, which I'm very offended by, because I was the one that exposed him. And he mentions the ADL and other organizations, but that's not the point of this video. It's quite pathetic. I mean, it doesn't take a huge Jewish organization to basically pick up the phone and call the police, right? And it wasn't Jewish organizations that did anything about him. It was you guys out there that called, so thank you for that. Maybe in another video I'll talk about my disappointment with many of the Jewish organizations, including ADL, but that's a topic for another day. He reminds me, it's funny, this is a guy who thinks he's super intelligent. He reminds me of a kid, if any of you out there have kids. And if you catch a young child, you notice that the chocolate cake, for instance, is missing a big piece. And then you confront your child, you see your young child has chocolate dripping down his or her chin, chocolate all over their mouth. And you're like, do you know what happened to the piece of chocolate cake? And this young child, thinking they're really smart and can outsmart their parent, will go, no, it wasn't me. He reminds me of that young child. I mean, this is a guy that thinks he's super intelligent, and he's denying that he's anti-Semitic. And he's denying that this tweet that said they should be dead, and the parasite class, while he promulgates and disseminates the protocols of the design, he denies that he meant Jews, that he denies that he meant anyone should die. He thinks he's trying to outsmart us, but you see, he's not that smart. Angelo, you are not smart at all. You're dumb as bricks, you buffhead. But here's the thing, you still are dangerous, because you do have a following. You have 35,000 people on Twitter that follow your every boneheaded tweet. Now, I am disappointed that it seems that the police, at least according to what he said, and he's a compulsive liar, so who knows, but they somehow understood him. That's what he claims. But I'm still glad that the police visited him, because it shows him that he's on the radar. They're somehow aware of him. So if he does dare do anything, shoot up a synagogue or whatever he might have planned or had his followers plan, he might think twice now. So I'm really glad I flagged him and had the cops show up at his door. Now, I'm not against free speech, but when it comes to incitement to violence or murder, damn right I'm going to speak out, and I'm not going to risk it. one last word. I noticed that many of his followers were saying he should sue. So I would love him to try to sue me, because a bankrupt anti-Semite is better than one who's flush with money. And believe you me, Angelo, if you try to sue me for flagging your problematic, bone-chilling, dangerous tweets, I will come back at you so hard you won't know what hit you. That's what I had to say today. I know maybe not the cheeriest thing for Hanukkah, but I do wish all of you an amazing Hanukkah, those of you who celebrate. And if the weather continues like this, you'll be hearing from me again this time next week. Shabbat Shalom. Hanukkah Sameach, everyone. Take care.